This shader allows you to make directional billboards, making them change the direction depending on the view angle. It's useful if you want to make a 3D world with animated billboards, but with the possibility to rotate the camera. Surely you may ask, is it possible to create a sprite 3D, set it as billboard and write a GDScript to make the frame change depending on the difference between the camera rotation and the sprite rotation? You surely can, but this would complicate the job. This shader does the same thing on quad meshes instead of 3D sprite. But it doesn't use GDScript and it works on more cameras even in the editor. Because, well, this is not GDScript, this is a shader. Now, let's see how to set up this thing. Let's start from the spreadsheet. First of all, it is uniformly divided in columns to represent the frames of the animation, if there is one, and in rows for the directions. Singularly, different rows have the same animation but drawn in different directions. These values are parameters of the shader, obviously. Directions count for the rows, frames count for the column. The purpose of the shader is to set automatically the row to the corresponding direction depending on the rotation of the view. If the developer wants to animate it, a script can run the animation editing the frame's value. That's how the directional sprite sheet works. Every sprite sheet with a supported format for Godot can be used here, but the result can be incoherent with the expectation of the player if the sprite sheet doesn't respect the following rules. First, every row should respect a sequence. I mean, if the first row looks toward north and the second one toward northwest, the third might look to west. This sprite sheet has north and south in the first and last row, putting all the other direction in the middle. That's not how it should be ordered, so it isn't usable. Second, the rows have to be displaced so as to complete a 360 rotation. East, northwest, and southwest respect this rule, for example, while this sheet of Mario Luigi doesn't. Now let's talk about the remaining parameters of the shader. The first row, by default, should look toward right, that is the angle 0. But if the first row looks toward north, for example, that's not a problem. The shader will work perfectly even with this offset. To correct this offset, set the property starting angle to the angle of the first direction. Toward east is 0 degrees. It's the default value. It is relevant if we want to move a character and rotate the sprite toward the right direction. Finally, let's assume that you're using the columns for the directions and the rows for the frames. There is a property called direction on horizontal axis that allows you to use the sprite sheet in this way. After setting everything, you're ready to use the shader.